Is Lara's a good character to learn the game? Pretty good character, yeah. So there's different answers on this. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion, right? So I mean, I have my own thoughts from how I learned the game and what I would recommend, but it depends on what you're going for. Really, what it comes down to, what's the outcome you're trying to get? So what I mean is, are you trying to learn a character? Are you trying to fundamentally grow into like a tournament level player? What is the outcome you're trying to achieve? I think that changes what the answer is. Are you just trying to have fun, right? All that matters because it depends on what you're trying to do. I'm like a student of the game. I love being a student of the game. I love taking things to the limit, like with what you can do, what's possible. That's always been my fascination with Tekken. So it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. But if you're just trying to have fun, sure, like there's a lot of different answers to that. Spamming some crazy shit with Noctis or Asuka might be your idea of fun. Maybe that's what you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to learn fundamentals? I have a few different answers, but what I would say is when we say fundamentals, we need to define that a little more clearly, right? There's a lot of blanket terms in Tekken and FGCs in general. So let's start with fundamentals. What are we talking about when we mean fundamentals? When I think fundamentals, here are the things that I think about. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Smash Me. I think about neutral. Neutral is one part of fundamentals. There's also an offense part of it too. I kind of count neutral in that. Spacing and movement, that's another part. Punishment, that's another part. Blocking correctly, especially when you're talking about standing and crouch blocking into punishment. And you put all that together to have a complete set of tools that you can use to win. All right, so we kind of define fundamentals, and then you can get very granular. To me, neutral, the way, and even this conversation, right? Neutral, like maybe people define it differently. I take it very literally. Neutral is no one has advantage or disadvantage, right? There's no advantage, there's no disadvantage. You're neutral. You're in a neutral position where no one has quote unquote advantage. Now there might be spacing opportunities where a certain character has better tools in an area, and that's something you understand why they're good in that part of the neutral. That's the way I define neutral, because people get really complicated about it, or try to get very technical, like, oh, it's actually this. I don't really care what other people think. The way I define it is you are neutral in your stance in the FGC game, whatever that game is. There's no advantage or disadvantage in that situation. So that's how I would define neutral. Right now, in this state, we're neutral, right? This is the neutral. There's no advantage. I've not hit anything. They've not blocked anything. We're in neutral. So tools that are good in neutral mean they're good when you don't have plus or minus, but they're good at a certain range, or because they crush, or because, whatever it may be, they have some type of advantage or good property that's good in the neutral. That's the way I view it. Movement and spacing. Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, this was something that I got in an argument with in Tag 2 with a lot of people, because I would see people do this, right? They would just do this. They would just endlessly run away, and this was spacing. And my argument was spacing is to allow you into an advantageous position, whatever that may mean, right? So I'm moving with an idea in mind to either create an opening, create a whiff, but not just to get away from the situation. You're not doing strategic retreating. That's not an advantage. You're moving with a purpose. Right? Is it to evade something? Is it to, or even like forward movement? You're applying pressure mentally, even if you're not doing a move. Want them to counter swing or do something. You're trying to bait for something. Spacing and movement's a big one, or backdashing in general. If you're actually new to the game and you're trying to learn everything, and you really are like, hey, I'm trying to actually get good at this. This is my goal. Not just I'm learning it casually the same way, oh, I squat up with my friends in Fortnite once or twice a week just for fun. We hop into a lobby or whatever in Tekken, duke it out and have fun. If you're going to have a goal, you have to be very specific with it so that you can set in place a plan of action to accomplish that specific goal. So if your specific goal is to start from scratch and to make your way into a worthy opponent in the Tekken scene, then you have to have a plan of action for that. And so my recommendation would always be, okay, you need to learn movement, and you're not worried about the frustration. Let's take all the variables out. Let's take out the frustration, or that the character could be more frustrating to start with. You're looking at the long term, not the short term. In my eyes, Brian, Paul, characters like that, because one, they have a backsway, and because they have a backsway, they will necessarily check you if you're not doing a backdash correct. So it will force you very early. Every time you're going to get a backsway when you don't mean to, and you're going to get launched or whatever, because it forces you to learn how to do movement. So in my eyes, if you're really trying to learn the game from scratch, and you want to focus on something key like movement while learning the game, Paul or Brian's a great example. Paul, I think, is a little bit better because he has a lot of different tools for punishment at all the different areas. He has a good 12 frame, he has a decent 10, it's okay. Good 14 with back 3. So it makes you think about the frames. If you really want to learn stuff, that's a good way. Kazuya, to me, is the way that I learned Tekken, and where I'm at now is all because of, not because of Lee. Kazuya has a punish for every frame from 10 to 15. So I would go through the move list, just practice punishment with him against all the characters. The way that I learn, it may be different for everyone, But for me, it was breaking down characters and their punishment options. So that's what I've always done. I think Paul's a good example of someone you could learn to really get to know the fundamentals of Tekken. Paul might be the best character to do that, especially the Paul that we have now, because there's only so many gimmicks will get you so far. Actually, he really might be the best, in my opinion, because he makes you learn movement and he makes you learn punishment to win, which teaches you a lot of skills. Strings and punishment, like learning strings and punishing on block things correctly and learning spacing is actually really important for Paul. I think he's a really good starting character to learn so much about the game. Obviously, there's always going to be gaps in general that you'll just miss until you go out of your way to find them, regardless of the character, but it's a good foundation, and the foundation's super important.